Okay, let's just start with a vibe check. It's 10 p.m. last Thursday night.
Right?
You're in St. Andrew, Jamaica. Maybe you're winding down, you've got Netflix going, or you're just scrolling through your feed. And then the room shifts.
Just a little bit. A subtle dislocation of reality.
Right. It wasn't the big one.
Yeah.
It wasn't catastrophic. But it was that distinctive, unsettling feeling where the solid ground beneath your feet suddenly feels like it's made of gelatin. You freeze. You look at the ceiling fan to see if it's swinging.
Yeah, that's the classic move.
And you ask the person next to you that universal question, did you feel that?
And the answer, of course, was yes. A minor tremor. Now, most people, they feel that. They check social media to confirm they aren't going crazy, and then they just go back to sleep.
Sure.
But for structural engineers, urban planners, and, the people monitoring our built environment, that little shake isn't just a nuisance. It's a massive data point.
And that is exactly where we are going today. We're doing a deep dive into a fresh report from Jamaica Homes News, dated January 17th, 2026.
Okay.
The headline really grabbed me. Earthquake reminder brings building standards and risky development back into focus. And our mission today is to figure out why a minor shake is actually a major warning shot.
Think of it as a stress test. That's really how we need to look at it.
A stress test. I like that. But here's the thing, and I want to challenge you on this early on.
Go for it.
Usually when we talk about building standards or zoning or permits, it feels like we're talking about paperwork.
Yeah, bureaucracy.
It feels like bureaucracy designed to slow things down or, extract fees. Is this report actually saying there's more to it than just red tape?
Oh, absolutely. That is the fundamental misunderstanding we need to clear up.
Yeah.
The core argument of the source material is that building codes aren't administrative hurdles, they are physics. They're the translation of the laws of physics into legal requirements. When you ignore them, you aren't fighting the government. You're fighting gravity, you're fighting shear force and seismic waves.
And physics.
'Cause
Physics always wins.
Physics always wins. I'm going to put that on a t-shirt. Okay, so let's unpack the scene in Kingston and St. Andrew right now. The report uses a really evocative phrase. Development pressure meets physical reality. That sounds like a collision waiting to happen.
It is a collision.
Yeah.
To understand this, you have to look at the corporate area as a pressure cooker.
Okay.
You've got three potent ingredients mixing together. One, population density. Everyone wants to be near the economic center, the jobs, the schools.
Oh, man.
Two, housing demand. I mean, we have a massive shortage of units and
Yeah.
people need homes.
Yeah.
And three, geography.
Geography is the stubborn one.
It is. St. Andrew runs out of flatland very, very quickly. You have the LaGuardia Plain,
Yeah.
and then boom, you hit the mountains.
Right. It's not like we can just print more flatland. Exactly. So you have high demand and a limited supply of easy land. And this pushes development inevitably into what the report calls marginal or sensitive sites.
Define marginal for me. Are we just talking about steep hills where the view is nice?
Well, steep hills are the obvious ones, yes. But marginal is more complex than just the slope.
Okay.
We're talking about soil composition, we're talking about gullies, old riverbeds, or areas with high clay content. Soil that swells up like a sponge when it rains and then shrinks and cracks when it's dry.
Okay, playing devil's advocate here. People have built on hills for centuries. I mean, look at San Francisco. Look at the Amalfi Coast. Why is it such a red flag in this specific context in Jamaica?
Great question. It's not that you can't build on a hill. Engineering is amazing. You can build a skyscraper on a swamp if you engineer it correctly.
Right.
The problem isn't the location, it's the gap between the location's difficulty and the engineering rigor that's applied. The report calls this the deceptive calm.
The deceptive calm. That sounds like the title of a mystery novel.
It does, doesn't it? But picture this. You're looking at a piece of land on a hillside in St. Andrew. It's a sunny Tuesday in April. The birds are singing.
It's perfect.
The ground looks solid. Visually, it seems perfectly fine to build a house there. But that visual inspection is, frankly, worthless because it doesn't account for dynamic loading.
Okay, hold on. Dynamic loading. Break that down for us non-engineers.
Sure. Static load is just gravity, the house pushing straight down. Most dirt, even bad dirt, can handle that for a while.
Yeah.
Dynamic load is what happens during an earthquake. The ground pushes sideways, it vibrates.
It shakes.
It shakes.
So the ground stops acting like a floor and starts acting like a conveyor belt.
Or a liquid. If that soil is loose, or if it's waterlogged, it can undergo something called liquefaction, where solid ground temporarily acts like a liquid soup.
Wow.
Or on a slope, you get shear failure, where the top layer just slides off the bottom layer like a deck of cards.
So on that sunny Tuesday, you're only testing for gravity, but on Thursday night at 10 p.m., you're testing for shear force.
Precisely. And the report warns that without soil testing, which involves drilling down, taking core samples, analyzing them in a lab, you are literally guessing.
You're just hoping for the best.
You are betting your life and your biggest financial asset that the sunny Tuesday condition is permanent.
And we know, living in Jamaica, that the seismic zone is active. That isn't a variable we can wish away.
It's a constant. The tectonic plates do not care about the view from your balcony. They move on their own schedule.
That brings us to the how. If the where is these tricky hillsides and gullies, the how is what the report calls informal or inadequately supervised building activity.
Right.
Now, I want to pause here and really look at this from the homeowner's perspective.
Okay.
Building is incredibly expensive. Materials are up, labor is up, land is up. If I'm a regular person trying to build a home for my family and I can save, say, $50,000, $100,000 by skipping the fancy architect or the structural engineer and just hiring a foreman who says he knows his stuff, why shouldn't I? I'm saving cash right now.
And I have total empathy for that position. You're saving cash, yes, but you aren't saving cost.
Okay.
You are just deferring it. And the interest rate on that deferred cost it's astronomical.
Okay, walk me through that. Because to me, cash in my pocket is cash in my pocket. How does this come back to bite me?
The source material lays out what they call an economic trap. Let's look at your house not just as a place to sleep, but as a financial asset.
Right.
If you build informally, no permits, no engineer sign-off, no soil test, you create 3 massive liabilities that just destroy the value of that money you thought you saved. First is liquidity.
You mean the ability to sell it later?
Yes. A sophisticated buyer, or any buyer using a bank loan, will demand to see the certificate of compliance.
The paperwork.
The paperwork. They need to know the building is legal and safe. If you don't have that paper because you skipped the inspections, your pool of buyers shrinks to 0. Or you're left with only cash buyers who will lowball you because they know they're buying a problem.
So it's a house you can live in, but it's not an asset you can trade. You're stuck.
You're stuck. Exactly. Second is leverage. Financing. Banks are essentially risk management algorithms with a logo. They will not write a mortgage against a property that violates zoning codes or lacks structural approval.
So no home equity loan down the line.
Let's say 10 years from now you want a loan to send your kid to college or start a business. You can't. You have all this equity trapped in the concrete, and you can't borrow a dime against it.
That's a huge deal. You're locking up your own wealth. And the third,
insurance. And this is the big one highlighted in the report, especially with climate change models updating.
okay,
We are seeing a trend where insurers are using satellite data, granular risk modeling. If your property is in a high-risk zone and you can't prove it was engineered to withstand that risk,
it won't cover you?
coverage is denied.
Wow. So let's trace that back. I saved the money on the engineer fees up front. But now, if an earthquake flattens the house, I have no insurance payout.
0.
If I want to sell it, I can't. And if I want a loan, the bank says no.
Exactly. You didn't save money. You spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to build a liability. You own a pile of concrete that carries 100% of the risk.
That really reframes the old penny wise, pound foolish saying. It's more like penny wise, life savings foolish.
And it goes beyond the individual. The report touches on the cumulative risk to the community.
The we
The
problem.
we problem, yeah. This is where it gets really interesting from an urban planning perspective.
How so? If I build a bad wall on my property, isn't that just my problem?
Not on a hillside.
Yeah.
Think about hydrology water flow.
Okay.
If you grade your land improperly and block a natural drainage path because you didn't consult a civil engineer, that water doesn't just vanish. It diverts.
Water always finds a way.
It does. Maybe it diverts into your neighbor's foundation and undermines it. Maybe it washes out the municipal road below you.
Right?
Or maybe it saturates the soil of the entire slope, making a landslide more likely for everyone.
So my bad decision isn't isolated at all.
Informal construction creates risk aggregates. One bad house is a problem. 50 bad houses on one slope is a disaster waiting to happen.
Right.
If that slope fails, it takes out the road, the power lines, the internet, the emergency access for everyone.
So your private decision to cut corners becomes a public safety hazard. It's essentially a form of pollution, risk pollution.
Correct. Which brings us to the question of oversight. Who is watching this?
Yeah.
Because we know you can't have a policeman on every construction site 24/7. That's just not realistic.
The report mentions the KCMC, the Kingston, and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation. They've come out and admitted they can't be everywhere at once, but they've launched what sounds like a neighborhood watch for construction.
Yes, a citizen-led reporting system.
Now, I have to ask, isn't this just encouraging people to be snitches? Oh, look at Mr. Brown adding a balcony, let me call the hotline. It feels a bit intrusive.
I get that reaction. I do. Nobody wants to be the bad neighbor. But flip the perspective. If Mr. Brown is cutting into the toe of the slope that holds up your house, do you want to be polite or do you want to be safe?
Put that way, I want to be safe. My foundation depends on his foundation.
The report emphasizes that this reporting system is anonymous, and it's not meant for petty grievances like paint colors.
Right.
It's for flagging specific dangerous behaviors. The report specifically mentions looking out for night pours.
Night pours. That sounds like a secret society or a bad horror movie.
It does, but it's a common trick in the world of informal construction. You schedule the concrete truck for 2 a.m. or you mix it on site in the dark.
Why? To avoid the heat?
No, to avoid the eyes. You pour at night so the inspectors can't test the slump of the concrete.
Yeah.
Maybe you used too much sand and not enough cement to save money. Maybe you didn't put enough steel rebar in. By morning, the concrete is hard and nobody can see what's inside it.
Until the earthquake hits.
Exactly. It hides the evidence. So if you hear a cement mixer running at 3 a.m., that's not just a noise complaint. That is a structural red flag.
That is terrifying. It's literally hiding the weakness inside the structure.
So the goal of the KSMC isn't necessarily to come in and demolish finished homes. That's politically and socially very difficult.
It creates homelessness.
Right. The goal is early intervention. Stop the bad pour before it sets.
It's proactive. Catch the mistake while it's still just wet cement and rebar.
Right. Because once that concrete sets, the risk is baked in. Literally. You can't fix a bad foundation without tearing the whole thing down.
This all ties into the broader context mentioned in the article, which is Earthquake Awareness Week. The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, has a theme this year. Resilient Jamaica. We weather the storm and brace for the shake.
Brace for the shake. I think that's an important distinction. We weather a storm. We see a hurricane coming on the radar for days. We can board up windows, stock up on water.
Hey, you can prepare.
But you have to brace for a shake because it's instant.
There was a quote in the source material from Dean Jones, the founder of Jamaica Homes. I thought it was brilliant.
What was that?
He said, "Earthquakes don't announce themselves, and neither do structural weaknesses."
It's a profound statement. It goes right back to that idea of the deceptive calm we talked about earlier.
And he added, "What holds up in ordinary conditions may not hold up when the ground moves." That seems to be the thesis statement of this entire deep dive.
It is. I mean, think about it. We live 99.9% of our lives in ordinary conditions.
Right.
Gravity is vertical. The ground is still. The wind is mild. We design our lives around that 99.9%. But structural engineering is entirely about that 0.1%. It's about the 30 seconds when the rules change.
The report concludes with a really heavy thought that I've been chewing on. Resilience is built slowly, and failure often reveals itself suddenly.
Let's just sit with that for a second. Resilience is built slowly. It's boring. It's
Yeah.
waiting 3 weeks for the soil test results when you just want to start digging. It's paying extra for the grade 60 steel instead of the cheap stuff. It's the tedious process of getting the permits stamped and approved.
It's the unsexy stuff, the stuff you don't post on Instagram.
Totally unsexy. But failure reveals itself suddenly. Snap, crack, collapse. It takes seconds to undo years of work and savings if the foundation isn't right.
It makes you realize that patience isn't just a virtue, it's a safety feature. In a world where we want everything on demand, Amazon delivery, streaming movies,
Instant coffee, yeah.
building is one of the few things where speed is usually the enemy of quality.
Speed is the enemy of quality. That's very true in construction. If you rush the cure time on concrete, it's weak. If you skip the survey to start a week early, you're flying blind. The geology of Jamaica operates on a geological timeline.
Right.
Millions of years in the making. It doesn't care about your construction deadline or your move-in date.
So let's bring this home for the listener. Whether you're a homeowner, maybe you're looking to buy a fixer-upper in the hills, or you're just a concerned citizen walking around your neighborhood, what is the one big takeaway here?
The takeaway is this. Don't trust the visuals. Trust the documentation.
Elaborate on that.
If you are buying, ask for the structural drawings. Ask for the soil report. If the seller says, oh, we didn't need that. My cousin is a builder and he built it strong.
Run away.
Run away.
Yeah.
Because you aren't just buying a house, you're buying their risk.
Yeah.
You are buying their shortcuts.
Yeah.
And if you are building, embrace the red tape. View the permit process not as the government getting in your way, but as an independent audit of your safety. They are the only ones checking your math.
It's about future-proofing. We talk a lot about generational wealth in this country. Everybody wants to leave something for their kids.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't have generational wealth if the asset collapses in generation one.
That's the bottom line. We want to leave a legacy of assets, not a legacy of rubble. We want our children to inherit a home, not a demolition order or a lawsuit.
You know, we started this conversation talking about a little rumble on a Thursday night,
Mm-hmm.
a notification on phone,
Yeah.
a moment where we paused our movies. But it really opens up a much bigger conversation about how we live and how we protect ourselves.
Sometimes the universe gives you a nudge. That earthquake was a nudge. It was a gentle reminder that the ground is alive.
A gentle reminder. Next time, it might not be so gentle.
Exactly.
Here's a thought to leave you with today. Look around the room you're in right now. Your office, your bedroom, your car. We assume these structures are permanent. We treat them like they'll be there forever. But they're really just prototypes waiting for a test.
That's a chilling way to put it, but accurate.
Ask yourself, is your foundation, both the physical concrete under your feet and the financial paperwork in your drawer, is it ready for the moment the prototype gets tested?
Check your papers, check your insurance, check your structures. Don't wait for the ground to move to find out what you're standing on.
Sound advice. Thanks for diving deep with us today. I'm definitely going to be looking at retaining walls a little differently on my drive home.
As you should. Stay safe out there.
Catch you on the next one. Keep asking the hard questions.